Hi, everyone. Please remember to state your name and outlet before you ask a question. Vika, can you talk us through your match today?
Yeah, I thought it was a really good match. Very high quality from both players. Very consistent in terms of level. From me, I felt that I really played well in the crucial moments. I felt like I stepped up a lot to the occasion, and that's what I'm really happy with today.
Okay. First question for Courtney.
Hi, Vika. Courtney Nguyen, WTA Insider. Congrats on the
Right.
win and the
Thank you.
performance. Earlier this week, you were talking quite a bit about wanting to play this event with the intention of implementing some changes to your game and that you had been working on. You looked so satisfied with the performance today. It seemed like it
Mhm.
worked. And I'm curious, you're not a player that I ever thought was not an aggressive player. So when you talk about adding more aggression to your game and stuff like that, kind of what are you looking at in terms of reshaping your game?
Well, I wouldn't say that I'm not an aggressive player, but I think the court coverage and taking maybe less shots to win the point. That's something that is important for me to improve. I think on the baseline, counter attacking and having high intensity. That's something that worked really really well for me. It doesn't necessarily work all the time, and it's more demanding. So I'm looking for things that I can implement that will make it a bit easier for me. I'm also not, in the beginning of my career to grind every match is not necessarily tougher physically, but from one match to another, it adds up. So I'm looking how I can um, be more efficient as a player.
Yeah, that makes sense. Just on today's match against Jesse, can you just talk about where you felt like you started to feel comfortable in terms of your range and knowing how you wanted to play that match and just yeah, just when your comfort level kind of kicked in, I guess.
Well, I mean, first couple games, obviously, they weren't going my way, but that's I think how you start is you have to start somewhere, and then you find your range. If you just, trying to start the match by trying to make the ball, it's going to be harder to be aggressive and be brave in the important moments. So I started, going for my shots from the beginning. I knew I have to put apply pressure on her, and I will have the moment where I'll have opportunity. And I think in the beginning of the match we had, a lot of great rallies, a lot of points where I was like, oh, maybe I got this one and she got me. So I felt that I really just stuck uh, to being aggressive and being consistent, and I got my opportunities.
Thank you.
Next question. Courtney, go ahead.
Yep, sure. I'll go ahead. Just one more. And then, sorry, but when you're now in the semifinals of Indian Wells, obviously, and you've obviously had a tricky season. I guess you mentioned it on the court, not the season necessarily. You were thinking of would it mean for you to just not only get this result but get even better result here in Indian Wells, and yeah, does it reshape how you look back on this season, kind of putting together a run like this?
Um, I don't think I'll be looking at this and kind of look back into the season. I think the more important is to actually look right now what I'm able to do, and not necessarily look forward, but to it's almost like reassurance here. The results are coming, so it's always that's the measure, right? Like how else are you going to measure your progress in tennis? Unfortunately, it's all by the results, especially um, that measure from the outside. For yourself, you can put little goals and try to kind of climb that ladder, but in the end of the day the results is what's going to determine how well you performed, which sometimes can be tricky. So I wouldn't necessarily want to be stuck with that. I would like to see, okay, what are those like mini goals that I put in front of myself? Have I achieved them? Because every time, being stuck with the results, it's a lot of up and down, with your emotion, with your confidence and stuff. So I'm trying to see how I can have more of a steady line and continue to take maybe one step at a time and not to go too high or too low.
Next question for Craig.
Craig Gabriel. I've asked a couple of players this question today. There's been a lot of talk of late, and especially today, about space travel for the general public. And William Shatner went up in space and landed successfully and safely back here. Would you ever consider something like that? What would be your mindset?
To go to space? Um, I'm not necessarily too excited about it. I think it's cool. I think that that the fact that people can actually develop something, technology to be able to achieve that, I think that's pretty cool. Like from the engineering standpoint and development. Me personally, I kind of like planet Earth. I hope we, as society, will take better care of it before moving to another planet. So that's kind of where I stand.
Okay.
Next question for Andrew.
Yeah, hi Victoria. This is
Hello.
Andrew from the Desert Sun newspaper here in Palm Springs. Just want to, just ask you about your success here at this tournament. Few players have had the level of success that you've had, and I just want to know what it is that you like about playing here and how you've been able to be successful throughout your career.
I mean, I feel like I've always liked to play on big tournaments, and Indian Wells is, almost like the fifth Grand Slam. So I always had a lot more motivation coming to tournaments like this. And I said that earlier, like when we come here every year, you sometimes take it for granted, and then 2.5 years later, I feel like I actually forgot how beautiful this place is and how fun it is to play here. But in terms of game wise, conditions are pretty tricky here. So it's about like adjustment a lot and navigating through weeks. It's a 2-week event, so it takes also a lot of energy, a lot of focus out of you.
Thank you.
Bill Simons.
Hi, Vika. Well done.
Thank you.
You've had this incredible career, this incredible journey. Can you just step back and say, what are the one or two things that have given you personally the greatest satisfaction in your journey?
I mean, I'm not the type of person who likes to really step back and look back, because I still feel like I'm in my journey, so I don't necessarily reassess or kind of take from my old experience, be like, oh, that's how it felt, because I don't necessarily think you remember the whole picture. It's more about like certain selective memories that you pick out. But if I will look back at my career, I mean, I think the answer you're looking for is what was the best result that I had, right? So that we can definitely say that my Grand Slams will always be the most important to me. That was my number one goal since I started playing tennis. And the Olympic medal. Those were the two kind of highlights. But those are just based on kind of tennis results. I think that's what everybody expects you to say. But the best moments are invisible moments. I will say, the ones that nobody sees and you overcome. And I will say that those couple moments in my life happened where I was super proud of myself, which had nothing to do with tennis results.
Thank you, Vika.
And last question for Courtney.
If you could just looking ahead, you'll play either Ostapenko or Rogers are on court now, but just specifically with respect to facing potentially Yelena, I'm just kind of curious with this mindset to play more aggressively, and she's one of the more aggressive players. I mean, how do you see that kind of matchup kind of shifting, especially on these conditions, on these courts?
Well, I don't necessarily think that any differently. I think it's kind of the same mindset, taking care of your side of the court and not letting the other your opponent control the outcome. I think that doesn't necessarily change my approach. It may change, some rallies, some shots, but approach definitely not.
Okay, and one last question for Craig.
Vika, I'm sorry if this was asked at the very beginning, and I'm not meaning to be rude or probing. But is there any issue with your eyes that you're wearing reflective sunglasses in the interview room?
Yes, I don't like the lights. They sometimes give me migraines, so I try to protect myself.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.